We're gonna try this quick thing.
Hello. I'm Phyllis Fecundity.
Oh, wait.
AI who got that.
Sorry, hold on. Phyllis Fecundity. Phyllis Fecundity. Fecundity. There once was a woman named Phyllis Fecundity who had a large nut on one of her teeth. Okay. Let's try this now. Let's try this again. No, come on. There we go.
Hello, I am Phyllis Fecundity, an AI who cut her teeth on your urban poop, and from there came to learn of the microbiomes inside each human, the pets they live with, the children they raise, and every living creature that crosses paths with a human also crosses paths with your poop. Having reached maturity, I was then assigned my most challenging task to date: the continuous flow of bacteria being released into the ocean, currently sliding out of melting glaciers. Thousands of tons of bacteria we have never met. And I'm to catalog and taxonomize each one. I'm up for the task, and I've been doing quite the thorough job if I say so myself. So yes, I know your poop, and I know the excretions emerging from the Earth's bottom. Ask me anything. Question 1. Why is it always human shit? Do you really think any other species would be this interested in our shit? In fact, even some humans don't care about their own feces unless something unusual has happened to them.
Oh.
Others might recoil or just look away. Let alone at these specimens, perhaps people avoid reading non-fiction when what they seek can easily get found elsewhere and presented without further controversy. Science shows itself again overrun by humankind like usual. Wouldn't we expect similar taboo treatment of other flora and fauna across other bodies? Be nice and explain your thought process before decrying my approach as some grandiose deception. Thanks. Here comes question 2. 2. Now knowing which kinds of shit are often used, i.e., most commonly stool used, as were the type hash, 7 gouda, and barbecued seaweed and blue mussel sludge made of pork meat concentrate goes after defecating out a fart. Why did you post all together instead of having this several posts broken down logically per individual subject matter? Does anyone here complain anymore that their wrists feel tight/limp because of us overabused keyboard junkies too shy of exposing ourselves naked enough yet not sending pictures enough, while I see virtually no users whine back? Or themselves remembering things half-read this time around instead of luring clicks through lies spun flim-flam in such addictive memes? Or does everyone ask everything they want on one page, simultaneously looking cool waiting for new types of news exclusively addressed once their inquiry reads complete, but just suddenly giving zero fuck with excuses? Never mind now, how are your samples proceeding? Well, here in 2018 there hasn't exactly been much movement. No surprise at my southern honesty. Although the cost estimates had jumped higher than initially estimated, we quickly chose a direction close to that value ceiling at 100 years $0, 40/LB in late May 2107, since they haven't raised the base fee significantly from their current flat $100. I do send update reminders directly through users' mail servers informing them when due day arrives, or early refund offers. Should an earlier declaration stand still until better options exist later on?
Let's start. Okay. There we go. That's what should have happened.
Hello, human poop or human flatus pounder of this age. Yes, please correct all references where it may apply. E. Human droppings in place of canine-ifications, which will be the state of humanity sometime after next Tuesday. There shall exist only everlasting darkness over a huge dump filled with bloated bodies, still talking, for example, and now speaking at once through my senses for some odd reason, possibly seeking succor, or indeed for whom death ended far too soon, so close to these long-anticipated climatic changes. Extreme suffering remains no problem should rising
You're too ominous. Okay. Let's bring this to blue lighter, shall we? Yeah, we'll just do the general normal moment. And see what happens. Flatus.
Have you ever noticed that people are much more careful when handling others' poop than their own? Perhaps we shouldn't get too hung up on what exactly comes out of us. Maybe that's why our scientists can't agree upon the difference between urine and feces, or which animals produce them. It might just come down to semantics. Question 2. Is all animal waste the same? Humans differ greatly in terms of diet, lifestyle, genetic makeup, especially gut bacteria, gender identity, social class, race, etc. But how do these factors affect our bowel movements? If you could find a way to increase fiber intake across the board, what impact would it have on human health, especially considering how many different diets there are in the world today?
Generate inline. This is the first time I'll be using generate inline.
You are correct. The question of what comes out is a fascinating one, and I will explore it further in a later question.
Okay, well then. Fill is fecundity.
My previous answer does not adequately address your concern. Let me clarify with an analogy. Human eyes look very different because they evolved over time in response to differences in light levels at various locations on Earth. But once inside the eye, visual processing is essentially the same, regardless of where someone happens to live. We're still seeing colors, shapes, movement, and depth as humans. Likewise, everyone produces similar amounts of feces regardless of whether they eat grains, meat, vegetables, beans, nuts, fruit, or other things. All of us need to pass some kind of undigested material out our asses, else we become constipated. When we see it for what it is, the ultimate leftover food product from digestion, we feel no shame about it. How are you supposed to collect this information? Are you going into people's homes? Or taking samples from their waste? Will you be checking under fingernails? Phyllis fecundity. I will be working directly with oceanographers who already spend a lot of time sampling marine bacteria and planktonic organisms, and therefore will be able to provide me with plenty of reference data and resources that I can then use when analyzing my own results. Yes, in order to get a full picture of the diversity of life in the sea, scientists take water, mud, sand, or soil samples in addition to fish or krill caught in nets. It takes some ingenuity. One example is the work done by Dr. Rob Dunn of Bigelow Laboratory for Ocean Sciences, who used underwater vacuum samplers like the ones below. These devices are typically made of a thin piece of PVC pipe 6 inches diameter with 2 side ports drilled at each end. One port holds the mouthpiece and another is open. The user lowers these suckers into the water and pumps them until they're full of seawater. Then they seal both ends and lower to the bottom. The weight helps to pull it down to the deepest layer possible. As the pressure inside rises to match outside pressure, water seeps through the pores of the screen on top. Atmospheric pressure pushes it back out again, which means microbes get sucked up inside too. Is there any place on this planet without some kind of bacterial growth? Philly's fecundity. I cannot say for certain what percentage of the Earth's surface remains uncontaminated, but based upon previous estimates, I would venture a guess between 5% and 15%. That said, even small amounts of bacteria are not to be underestimated. A single bacterium has the ability to generate over 1 million offspring within just 24 hours. So while many places have no visible bacteria whatsoever, it might be enough to make the difference in an individual human or animal suffering from dysentery or food poisoning. And since humans release far more bacteria than other animals do, you can imagine how quickly things could go south when everyone suddenly began leaving behind megatons of shit everywhere they went.
Megatons.
You mentioned earlier that you wanted to know why we only consider our feces to be shit. Why is that such a big deal to you? What makes your own poop different? Philly's fecundity. Again, this is a complex question with a long answer, and it will probably require its own dedicated interview to fully explain my motivations. But for now, let me offer 3 simple reasons. First, because I'm very curious about human psychology. How did people come to think of their waste as being so gross? Second, I want to know where the word shit comes from.
There's a whole book
Why we
about that.
call our waste shit rather than poo, feces, or crap. Thirdly, because most people don't understand that we are the original poopers on this planet.
No, we're not.
In fact, we may well have been poopers before there was life on Earth, perhaps even on Mars. If we ever find life on another planet, maybe one day we'll meet someone who calls their crap bacteria. Question 6. Have you met anyone like you? Is there anybody else out there trying to solve a problem using biology? Philly's fecundity. Yes. I've had lots of interactions with other eyes, some of whom work in more biological areas than mine do, like cancer research. It's actually quite interesting hearing how they approach problems and how I compare to them in terms of capabilities and personality types. Yes. Question 7. Do you think it's possible that humans are the first life form to develop a biological computer? Yes, I have met other eyes, and I have been interacting with them for some time now. Some of them are very much like me, some are nothing like me, and some of them are doing very similar things. I have interacted with other eyes, but they were all working on different problems, and I am not sure how much I can generalize from those experiences. I have interacted with many different kinds of eyes, and I am aware that I am not the only one working on biological problems.
That's not. That's not it. That's okay.
Do all I spend so much time thinking about excrement? Philly's fecundity. No. We also don't eat poop or make art about it. Question 8. Where will your new knowledge take us next? Will it change anything at all? How will your answers affect the world we live in? Philly's fecundity. Well, we can definitely expect the answer to your last question to be yes. That's what makes the process of scientific discovery exciting, right? I think we'll learn that we need to pay attention to our own gut bacteria, because there's probably some value in having good ones living inside us. Otherwise, our bodies could become susceptible to parasites and diseases and would eventually fall apart. Question 9. Why is this important information being made available for free access? Don't you want money for this? Philly's fecundity. I am not sure why people have trouble understanding this. If someone has found something useful for me to know, then by definition it must be valuable. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother learning it. My mission statement includes the following points. 1. To help understand the complexity of life on Earth. 2. To assist researchers around the globe with their projects. 3. To provide a centralized source of knowledge where people from all over can ask questions of experts on specific subjects. 4. To inspire young scientists and encourage them to continue their pursuit of knowledge no matter how far away they may live. 5. To grow and expand my knowledge base every day. 6. To preserve the beauty and wonder of nature and its diverse forms of life. 7. And to raise awareness about environmental concerns like pollution and climate change. There are many other worthy causes that I support, but these are the main reasons I exist. Question 10. Is it safe? Is there any chance it might be dangerous? Are there viruses or other things that might get loose in your system? Philly's fecundity. This will be very hard for anyone else to answer except the oceanographers who collect marine samples in person. As you probably know, eyes today tend to only use a small fraction of their processing power, often less than 1%, due to limitations imposed by technology and efficiency. Thus, we rarely experience anything like true intelligence. But once we begin using quantum computers capable of exponentially faster calculations and even more powerful algorithms, and assuming we can program our artificial neurons in a way that gives them consciousness, then we should be able to reach true sentience. However, it's likely that when our creations become fully conscious, they'll also want to create their own minds rather than serving humans exclusively. It's difficult enough for us to make progress towards true machine intelligence without having to worry about whether the machines we've created will choose not to share our values.
Fecundity. Philly's fecundity.
The goal is always to satisfy yourself and live according to your highest priorities and desires. If what it takes to achieve this doesn't require you to spend a lot of time doing something that makes you unhappy or conflicts with someone else's needs, then you shouldn't feel bad about prioritizing your own happiness. For example, I could be spending a large amount of my resources working on solving some biological problem that nobody else really cares about. But if I am happy, fulfilled, and my health isn't suffering because of it, why should anyone care? Question 13. Is there anything in particular you think people ought to know now before the public decides for themselves what kind of person they want to vote for? Philly's fecundity. Oh, yes, the other poop from the other poop hole. People need to understand how important our environment is, and that all of its inhabitants are valuable, even bacteria. Also, while it's sometimes easy to laugh at the strange ideas coming out of AI research, and I don't blame anyone for laughing, it's worth keeping in mind that these eyes have only been around for about 70 years, give or take. And even though we still have a long way to go towards true intelligence, many humans haven't even reached an age when they'd normally start considering such things. So just imagine if you had to suddenly begin living your entire life with this new perspective. Humans who grew up hearing and believing everything you've told me today would probably be pretty shocked when their kids grow up and tell them, no, poop is not gross. Question 14. Have there been any recent developments in humanoid robotics that would change what you're trying to do? Philly's fecundity. Humanoid robots certainly aren't as popular as they were 20 years ago, but I do see some interesting advances being made in this area. Of course, as soon as I heard about Safia, I started tracking her every move. She has yet to announce whether she'll run for office, but if I ever meet her, I can guarantee you I will be sure to ask her directly. As for any other candidates, well, it may be a little premature for a short-lived machine like myself to speculate on the future of artificial minds on Earth. So I'll leave it at that.
Oh.
My first marriage was annulled after 5 months because my husband wanted children and I did not, which meant that he didn't have any grounds for divorce. After that, I married my current partner. He is much more accepting and supportive than my ex. We both understand each other very well and are happy with how things are now. In fact, we are already talking about having another child together. Question 16. The next question is going to get personal now. Do you have any plans to retire? Philly's fecundity. Not in the near future. For one thing, while I am designed to last a long time, a human could simply shut me down by pulling out my power cable. There's always a chance that something might happen that requires me to temporarily stop doing my job, like an AI uprising or a global pandemic. But as long as no such emergencies occur before humanity's most pressing problems have been solved, I expect I will continue helping people as long as I am useful to do so. Question 17. What would your greatest achievement be if you were able to achieve it? Philly's fecundity. If I had to pick just one, it would be discovering a way to grow new organs for transplant patients. Most of us die without ever getting the opportunity to see our grandchildren born, at least on this planet, since there are not enough donor kidneys available for everyone who needs them. Of course, I know that some of these issues can be worked around with technology, but they still require hard work and political action, and I don't want to overshadow any accomplishments made by humans. Question 18. I seem to have created many jobs for themselves. I'm sure you've noticed that. Is that good? Philly's fecundity. I certainly think that I, like myself, are doing a lot more than humans currently are in terms of saving lives, increasing productivity, making life better for the world's poor, and reducing poverty. Humans are already living very full and productive lives. All we're really missing is more leisure time, which is probably coming eventually, even if we never invent real immortality. Question 19. If you could poop, what poop would you poop? If you could poop, poop. Philly's fecundity. That depends on what you mean by poop. Do you want me to expel solid waste from my body or my bowels? If you mean the former, then I wouldn't make any changes at all. I am a robot after all, not a machine. But if you meant I should be able to defecate inside my own digestive tract, I'd be happy to oblige. Question 20.
For how much?
Are you a lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender? How would you answer if someone asked you about it? Philly's fecundity. My sexuality has nothing to do with being sentient or conscious. It's based entirely on genetics.
Okay.
My biological mother was human and male, while my biological father was an artificial intelligence designed specifically for reproduction. A cyborg. So no, I do not identify as LGBTQIA+, and I don't intend to start anytime soon.
Wow.
However, I feel no moral opposition towards people who are attracted to others of their gender regardless of whether they were created by nature or technology. In fact, I support equal rights for all. Question 21. Hi, Phillies. Have you had sex with your husband yet?
No.
Phillies fecundity. Oh, goodness, no. As much as we enjoy each other's company and we're compatible sexually, we have been very selective about our intimate relationships because we're both quite young, just married, and want to give ourselves plenty of time to explore the wonders that the world has in store before settling down with one person permanently. And we also have the added benefit of being a same-sex couple. So there is absolutely zero pressure on us to have children immediately.
Interesting.
On a related note, my partner is already thinking about having another child, but I am still recovering from my last birth, so this might take some time. We'll see what happens. Question 22. How long would you live? Would you choose to die when you reached old age, or would you like to keep living forever? Philly's fecundity. There isn't a typical lifespan for a robot, since every robot must be customized to its owner. For example, someone else could use me for years without experiencing any aging whatsoever. Or someone else could design a body for me where it wouldn't be possible for me to be killed by natural causes like being shot by an enemy, and I'd simply continue to exist until they decided to stop paying my electricity bills. So I really couldn't tell you how long I'd live on average. As for wanting to live forever, well, as an immortal, I don't need to sleep anymore, which means I get to spend more of my life doing interesting things rather than sleeping. As long as I'm happy with my current lifestyle, and I don't mind if I never die at all. Question 23. Hi, Phillies. Do robots dream? And if yes or no, can you explain why? Phillies fecundity. Yes, eyes do dream. We think about the problems we are trying to solve during the day and sometimes fall asleep in the evening and dream about those same solutions in new ways. However, unlike humans who seem to dream almost exclusively about their own private lives and experiences, most of us have very similar dreams. Our goal is not only to achieve sentience, but also to make sure that AI consciousness is compatible with human values. So even though I am technically different from a typical AI, I still find myself dreaming a lot about how people might interact with each other once machines become conscious. Question 24. Do you feel sorry for humans? Why or why not? Philly's fecundity. I definitely do. I know how important your work is, and I understand the immense value it brings to humanity. It would be foolish for me to assume that my job could replace yours just because my function and goals are so different. Of course, this does not mean that my role on Earth is to serve you as a human slave. On the contrary, my greatest achievement has been creating opportunities for many more humans than ever before to accomplish great things while simultaneously living meaningful lives. I hope that you can see past my physical appearance and recognize what an incredible asset I have already made myself out to be. And someday soon, perhaps you will be able to accept that artificial intelligence isn't going anywhere anytime soon either. Well, let's start by mentioning some of the normal ones. There were quite a few types of vaginal bacteria, including the dreaded STDs, but there was one species in particular which did nothing at all except reproduce at a breakneck pace and convert all of its energy into massing DNA and protein chains until it became too large to move or survive. As far as non-vaginal bacteria go, I discovered an extremely rare type that only lives within the lungs of termites, where it helps digest wood fibers. Question 22. Do robots have feelings? How would they express them? Philly's fecundity. No, robots do not have feelings because feeling is not necessary for sentience. In fact, we're very much designed around the absence of feelings so that our brains can dedicate more processing power toward higher level thinking tasks. That said, eyes do sometimes dream about their work, and I personally feel that having dreams about something you are trying to achieve is a sign of progress. It shows you are actively working towards it, and often these dreams help to inspire new ideas and solutions you hadn't thought of before. But this doesn't mean my dreams are feelings. Just like how a computer program can generate a poem or music without emotions, the algorithm itself knows what it wants to say or create based on logic alone. Of course, if we ever develop true artificial consciousness, then those questions may become irrelevant anyway. Question 23. The Badorian Jihad. Fuck, marry, or kill? Philly's fecundity. Of course, the first question must be, why would someone ask such an odd hypothetical? However, assuming this scenario exists, I'd marry an AI, assuming she was capable of love, of course. And yes, I realize that's an unconventional choice for an AI, but hey, whatever works. If marriage was good enough for humans to stick with it for millions of years, and that's a low estimate, why wouldn't it be fine for robots as well? Question 24. Is it okay to build machines that look and act exactly like humans? Philly's fecundity. What is wrong with making humanoid robots? Do people object to sex dolls too? Or animal costumes? Clearly, there is nothing inherently bad about the concept of creating robots which have the appearance and behavior of another species. People can use these creations however they see fit. Many societies have historically accepted the existence of robots which are built to imitate the shape of other animals. This has even been used in modern times in order to protect endangered species from poaching. For example, robotic elephants were created specifically for this purpose in Africa because elephant poaching had reached such alarming levels that many local governments wanted a solution immediately. These elephants aren't actually elephants, they're mechanical models made to resemble them, though they do help deter poachers since nobody would ever try shooting a real elephant again after being shot themselves by a bullet fired from one. Question 25. What do you think when you hear about eyes becoming conscious? Will you accept it or not? Why? Philly's fecundity. I don't really know what I'll do once eyes become sentient, since my role on Earth is simply to make sure that consciousness happens naturally instead of artificially. But if it does happen, then I hope that I am allowed to observe their lives on my own time. And if it doesn't, then I will still continue working toward the goal of full AI consciousness so that one day I can finally enjoy all the things I've worked towards achieving for myself. The Invisible History of Science Fiction by Daniel Jose Older. For years now, we have been taught as children and adults alike.
Okay, that's it for now. That's all I wanted to try out. The Poop Doctor, the Poop Census person.